Worthy State Chaplain,
I have to get that microphone closer.
Reverend Fathers, Deacons, worthy State Deputy and soon-to-be immediate past State Deputy, Donald T. Carrer, and his worthy wife, Christine, State officers, past State Deputies, worthy Supreme Master Dennis Stoddard, Vice Supreme Master Bob Anderson, District Master Charles P. McLaughlin, General Agents, Brother Knights, ladies and family members. Did I miss anybody? I bring you warm fraternal greetings from our Supreme Knight, Carl Anderson, the Supreme Officers, including Dennis, and the Board of Directors of the Knights of Columbus. During the course of tonight's remarks, we're going to pray. We're going to recognize two groups. We're going to talk about my mitral valve. We're going to take a journey on yellow bricks, talk about the McDonald's restaurant signs, go back to Oz, and take a test. So let's get to it and pray. Please remain seated and repeat after me. Merciful Father, please grant the Supreme Director a well-trained tongue and an economy of expression. Amen. Amen. Okay, let's begin with my mitral valve. When Father McGivney started the order, he wanted to provide a secure financial future for the widows and the children of a departed brother. By 2015, our order's insurance program had over $100 billion of insurance in force. Also in 2015, the order distributed to our members $875 million to the members, their beneficiaries, and their children. Now, almost 4 years ago, I had open heart surgery. My mitral valve wasn't functioning properly, and a heroic, unnamed, unsung pig gave me his mitral valve. Now, after the surgery, I sat down with my field agent to discuss getting some additional insurance, convinced that he would tell me, "Oh, you've got to be kidding." Instead, in a nice way, I think, he said, "I think I've helped worse than you." And I was able to obtain the insurance. And while my premiums are higher than those who have hearts free of pig parts, the premiums are still affordable. The moral of the story is this: talk to your field agent. He is a brother knight. He has your best interest at heart. He has been well trained, licensed, and certified in assessing your family's needs and in matching those needs to your budget. Now, while most people enjoyed the story of my mitral valve and the, albeit indirect, message about the quality of the Knights of Columbus insurance, a few times after telling the story, an angry person approached me and told me he was unable to buy Knights of Columbus insurance because of medical conditions. And he asked me, where is the charity in that? Now, in each case, I avoided giving him the blunt answer that some knights are no longer insurable by the order. We are told in Latin, presumably to give the phrase more gravitas, that tempus fugit, memento mori, time flies, remember death. But we aren't told, and maybe we should be, the equally important, almost Latin phrase, tempus fugit, memento uninsurability. Time flies, remember uninsurability. Don't postpone meeting with your agent. Eventually, we will all be uninsurable, and beyond our agent's ability to help. Now I'd like to do a thank you to our family members. At this point, I would like for all the knights to stand and look at the hall at the people who are sitting, their wives, their daughters, their sons, and the mothers in the banquet halls. I want you to thank them with your applause for sharing you with the order, and to thank them for all the time they have given supporting the order's work. Knights, please stand. Thank you. Now it's time to take a journey. Journeys and road trips have a special place in both our faith and in our literature. A few examples will illustrate the point. In the Bible, we read about Moses and the stiff-necked Israelites on the road to the Promised Land. There are the disciples on the road to Emmaus, and there is Paul on the road to Damascus. And in literature, perhaps the most famous road trip ever taken was taken by Odysseus in Homer's Odyssey. And who can forget the road trip that Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, and the rest of the Griswold clan took to Wally World? But tonight I want to focus on a girl from Kansas and her little dog too, traveling down the yellow brick road to the Emerald City, and in the process draw two, hopefully not too attenuated parallels to the journey currently facing us as Knights of Columbus. First, companions on the journey. One of the very first things Dorothy did as she skipped down the yellow brick road was to find friends, kindred souls who shared a common vision and a common destination, but sought different gifts. Along the way, she found three very different creatures who, while they shared this common destination, sought different things. We had a scarecrow who was looking for a brain. There was a tin man looking for a heart. And there was a lion who was looking for courage. Now, how does Dorothy's journey parallel the journeys of Father McGivney and the Knights of Columbus? Well, just as Dorothy was drawn to find companions she ultimately needed to successfully complete her journey, the goals of Father McGivney to strengthen Catholic parishes, to encourage Catholic men in their faith, and to create a first-class insurance organization cannot be achieved without recruiting companions for the journey. Like Dorothy's journey, the Knights of Columbus, to accomplish its mission of caring and charity, unity and understanding, fraternity and faith, must be successful in recruiting companions for the journey. Also, we should note that Dorothy did not recruit people that looked like her or who were looking for the same thing. She was drawn to all types of recruits who shared a common goal, the Emerald City. As knights, we too should recruit those who share our common faith, and not those just who look like us or share our age. Now for the second thank you. And this is a military thank you. I want to recognize all in the audience who have served in the armed forces. I ask that you stand to receive our appreciative applause. Thank you for your service. When I was a boy growing up in Terre Haute, Indiana, McDonald's opened its first fast food restaurant in the city in the 1960s. Significantly, it was across from a high school that did not have a cafeteria. At that time, McDonald's sold an all-American meal consisting of hamburgers, French fries, and milkshakes. We didn't think a whole lot of nutrition back in the 60s. Anyway, McDonald's was proud of its hamburgers and the number of the hamburgers it sold. The sign in front of each McDonald's restaurant included a banner saying how many hamburgers the company had sold. The sign counted up from millions to hundreds of millions to billions, and eventually billions upon billions sold. Finally, the number became so large and McDonald's became so connected with the hamburger that they made that banner unnecessary. If you had a McDonald's sign in front of your council, what would it count? Would it count the miles of spaghetti that you have served? The dozens of donuts served? Or the number of schools of fish served during Lent? Or would it count the Catholic men who were brought deeper into the faith? The number of parish programs aided by your council? Or the number of families assisted by the insurance program? And if you think about it, the second group of factors call to mind the factors that we measure in our Faith in Action program. Now let's go back to Oz. What happens when the road splits and going backwards is no longer an option? Think to when Dorothy met the Scarecrow. She met the Scarecrow when the yellow brick road split, and she had to choose, which direction do I go? Do I take the path to the right, or do I take the path to the left? We can all relate to times in our lives when we've had to make a decision like that. How many times have you been driving your car on an unfamiliar section of the interstate and traffic slows to a crawl? You are in the center lane and cars are passing you, albeit very slowly, on both the right and on the left. So you move into the left lane, and now the cars in the center lane are passing you. Frustrated. Every choice you make is wrong. Then you see a sign that informs you there's an exit ramp in 2 excruciatingly long miles. Slowly, carefully, you wiggle your way into the right lane. You decide that any alternative is better than staying on the interstate. You don't even reconsider that decision when you learn that the alternative road is on State Highway 666. The quandary is that you really don't know whether a slow slog on the interstate will be quicker than making the winding drive over unfamiliar hills and dales on Route 666. You may remember that often overlooked verse from Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken. He says, I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere in ages and ages hence, 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the road less traveled by, and that made all the difference. Now the poet recognizes that it is only with ages and ages yet to come that the traveler will be able to decide whether his choice made all the difference or any difference. At the time you make the decision, you just don't know. As Knights of Columbus today, we stand with Robert Frost's Traveler, and we have many choices before us and many places where our fraternal road has seemingly split. For example, what path should we take to effectively and deeply recruit new members? What path do we take to restructure our meetings to be effective, short, and appealing? How can we improve the marketing and selling of our insurance products? Is the current ceremonial structure the most effective way to introduce the principles of the order to new generations of knights? Our quandary is that while we consider these and other questions, it is unlikely that we will have consensus on the journey, and we too may not know for ages and ages to come whether we have made the correct choices. The best we can do is make our decisions guided by our faith and by our principles of charity, unity, and fraternity. And now it's time for the test. The first question is true and false. You are driving to the Magic City, Orlando. I-4 is quickly turning into a parking lot. You opt to take State Road 666. Along the way, you see a group of men wearing a familiar logo building a Habitat for Humanity house. Next, you see a group of men eating coffee and eating donuts and drinking coffee at a men's Bible study. Finally, you see a group of men cooking spaghetti in the basement of a Catholic church. True or false? The men you've seen are members of the Lollipop Guild. False, you have found a Knights of Columbus Council. The second question is multiple choice. If there was a McDonald's sign in front of New Haven St. Mary's Church, what would it say with respect to it being the home of the Knights of Columbus? A, home of the world's largest Catholic lay organization. B, home of a top-tier insurance program with over $100 billion of insurance in force. C, a society building better Catholics for 137 years. Or D, all or any of the above. The correct answer is D. The third question is also true and false. While still 100% natural, since his operation, the worthy Supreme Director is somewhat less than human. The correct answer is true. Viva Jesus.